Alright, y'all. I think this is the best looking game that I've ever seen. I've actually said this on 4 different occasions just in this past year, and I'll probably keep on saying it as time goes on. But ever since Tennis for Two on an oscilloscope in 1958, we've finally reached the heights of photorealistic rendering and lighting, leading film industry animations and motion capture, and overwhelmingly beautiful scenic views. But despite all the looks and countless man-hours on screen, is a question I always have to ask.
Decontaminate.
What are you even trying to say?
I'm definitely a super graphics nerd and love Digital Foundry and Corridor Boys. I've been dabbling with 3D rendering myself in Blender. But as details in our movies and 3D photos and renders in our video games get more and more advanced in the pursuit of life's seemingly impossible perfect recreation, and as video games scale up and budgets massively balloon in size, it not only becomes a huge risk to stray away from a formula that worked, but oftentimes requires precious time and money that investors don't have the patience to lose. In the past year, we've seen countless amounts of studios close and restructure, thousands of employees let go due to miscalculations of funds and over expectations, backlashes and half-baked apologies, rinse and repeat. But I think there's a relatively simple solution, and a lot of us are probably already thinking it. Spend less money. Make more games. Just off the beaten path, we see so many smaller, more experimental games, trying so much more with so much less that deserve a spotlight just as much as everything else. Game engines in development are no doubt the most accessible they have ever been to date, due to free engines like Unreal, Unity, and Godot, and proper knowledge of these tools can lead to profound results that only a few years ago were impossible for small teams. Flagship games bring in a huge amount of cash, job opportunities, and tech advancements most can only dream of. These games definitely have a place, and push the medium forward in many, many ways. But oftentimes these flagship titles are too heavily objectified as a product, only for mechanics to be recycled and its sales tallied by the end of the fiscal year, creating cyclical cynicism, stagnation of creativity, and often major backlash from customers so frustrated that review bombing a game just to make a point feels more common these days than an honest opinion. And of course, it's not all bad. This past 2 years have shown us what a healthy remake of our favorite games can actually look like. Risk-taking and adherence to a niche aren't completely absent, but have become increasingly less and less commonplace over the course of video game history. And the mainstream is hitting a bit of a creative bottleneck. We've essentially been playing Far Cry 3 and Skyrim for about 12 years now, and despite how good The Last of Us 2 looks, it still functionally plays the same as the first. Ubisoft pumps out bigger and bigger game worlds with more and more copy and pasted tasks, using procedural landscape technology, game mechanics bleed into one another, new ideas and IP are under such scrutiny to initially perform with very little wiggle room to grow.
Are you afraid that I'm gonna turn into some kind of criminal? Quit worrying about me, okay? Something's different. I'll figure it out. Stop lecturing me, please.
I don't mean to lecture and I don't mean to preach. And I know I'm not your father.
Then stop pretending to be.
Since 1998, I've seen my breath, a guard noticed my footprints, I smoked a cigar and burned a leech off with it, I shot a walkie-talkie, watched ice cubes melt, I've battled my way out of an alien's stomach only to come out the other side, I've leveled entire buildings on Mars, shocked recovering addicts in pools of water, called a fake APB on a person in a park. These details are not superfluous ones. as most of them are thematically tied to story ideas and world building, while also being fun and engaging to interact with. Rockstar Games is a game studio with a massive detail-oriented obsession, pouring millions of dollars and hours into their worlds, and although I don't think they're fully exempt from all my criticism, I think they get it mostly right. Books largely serve as the interface. You bond with your horse by feeding them and cleaning them. Boots leave prints in the mud, your guns get dirty, your beard grows in real time. Everyone actually has a schedule and goes to work and sleeps and eats. These details are so painfully and realistically articulated that it can feel wholly unnecessary at times. But it's in this type of obscure attention to detail where I feel a project can transcend being a game for entertainment and becomes a window to a time and place in history so well realized that, dare I say, becomes educational. Graphical detail alone can be a compelling feature within itself, no doubt. I just finished Hellblade 2 earlier this week, and the graphical presentation of that game is a main selling point. But the visuals in Hellblade 2 would be nothing but superficial window dressing, if not for the strong emphasis and graphical rendition of the human condition. Thoughtful perspectives on grief, self-worth, coping with mental psychosis, trust, and faith are the very foundation that holds everything up, with close to photoreal graphics just a nice bow on the top. Call of Duty is a game that has some of the most detailed gun animations in the business. The guns have weight, realistic feeling recoil. They're chaotic to shoot and take skill to learn. They have real guns with highly detailed and realistic models. Okay, well, maybe not all the time.
My disappointment is immeasurable, and my day is ruined.
One of the weapon animators who worked for Call of Duty has a YouTube channel where he uploads many random things, but I could probably watch his reload animations all day, and I'm not exaggerating when I say that looking at these animations is at least 60% of why I play Call of Duty. If you haven't followed him already, links in the description. I also must address a certain elephant in the room. I'm so sorry, Todd, but this has gone on for way too long. But I haven't forgotten. Oblivion, Fallout 3, and Skyrim were incredible and cutting edge for the time. Sure, there's the jank, but we all forgive it because it's a fully open world with reactive NPCs and stuff you can pick up and throw, drop your stuff and it'll be there like 20 hours later, crash the game with cheese wheels, pickpocket a guy, put a bomb in his pants, put a bucket on a head. These features have been selling Bethesda games for years, and these features are what make Bethesda's games feel so dynamic and grounded. Fast forward to today, and this engine is absolutely buckling under its own weight. The reliance on object permanence causing loading everywhere, the stilted NPCs, the dead eyes, the bad physics, the janky gunplay. People have a lot to say on Starfield. But what really turned my head to all these issues was actually Fallout 4.
Holy Jesus. What is that? What the f*** is that? Huh?
I watched the show and liked it good enough that I wanted to go back and relive my glory days. And during my hiatus, I realized they added a survival mode. A mode that removes fast travel, tasks you with eating, drinking, avoiding getting sick, no save unless you sleep, and super tough enemies, and increased bullet damage, making combat more lethal and tactical. These sounded like super fun additions that fit the theme and the world and would make my decisions more meaningful and make me think a little bit more critically about each situation.
Stop the cap. Stop the cap right now. Stop the cap.
So check this out. I can't sleep on this particular bed for some reason. I can't cook out in the wild or make purified water on the go, and if I drink a puddle, I'll basically die. I can't shoot through this branch because of the bad collision, forcing me to practically stand out in the open trying to use VATS while probably getting shot. And since the enemy AI does so much damage that it's basically a one-hit kill, it's basically luck if my guy will choose to shoot in time or get shot and die immediately. I need all of these things to work. because the stakes are now so high and I need to be able to utilize legitimate combat and survival strategies. Realizing a game isn't built to handle certain details is okay. Games are art, art is expression, and nothing can express everything at once. But an entire mode added to a game to further immerse you in the world, bringing added usefulness and context to everything that came before, only to realize its addition makes everything feel fake and half-baked and broken, bringing out everything that's not there instead of what is, adding details that directly conflict with what the game is made for. Another similar example, albeit a bit smaller and perhaps more metaphorical in comparison, is this viewpoint I came across in Far Cry 6. A nature preserve with a nice view and info boards on local wildlife, only to realize I couldn't read the info properly because the textures were misaligned. A space that was undoubtedly beautiful at first immediately felt like it was now just there, to check a box, expecting the player to assume the existence of detail, not pay too much attention, get the loot, and get out. All the right details, just misaligned. And look, I'm not a game developer. These things are not granted. Many people work on just one system with pass upon pass and edit and boardroom meeting and so much more. But Noah Caldwell Gervais once said, "It's good to be wrong about things. That's where artistic novelty and genuine surprise live." For some time now, we've been observing art that is often overly obsessed with pleasing critics and retaining your attention as long as possible, trying to be everything to everyone all at once, oftentimes losing emotional resonance as a consequence due to generic cliches and lack of dignity. I play games to experience emotions, connect with others, and gain perspective. And when a piece of art abandons its individuality, adheres to the masses, focuses on a bottom line, that is when art stops being art and becomes a product that tries desperately to be all perspectives at once, ultimately achieving none at all.